Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video.
Well, welcome back out to another Friday here at Giga-Texas. It's the 20th September 2024, and I am flying a little later because I have an interview coming up, and I'll talk about that here in a moment. But first, I wanted to talk a little about the flags and the flagpoles and the order of the flags here at Giga-Texas. There has been a lot of input and comments by viewers, my Patreons, even my subscribers on X, and a lot of people on X as well, about whether or not the order of the flags are proper. And what I would like you to know is that they are actually in the correct order. Now, there's a couple of rules that are applying in this particular case. First of all, if the flags are all at the same height, which is okay, then the order of the flags are from the point of view of a visitor looking at the facility. So in this case, the American flag would be on the left, the state, or in this case, the Texas flag would be on the middle, and then on the right would be the organizational flag, in this case, Tesla. And that is definitely the correct order and the way they have them displayed here. Now, I've had some people say they think that the American flag has to be taller. And although it is true that when they have flagpoles and one of them is taller, that is reserved for the American flag, it is equally okay to have them all at the same height. And that is what has been chosen here by Tesla at Giga-Texas. So anyway, I hope that that helps answer a lot of the questions that people have. Personally, I find it very inspiring that so many people are interested in honoring the United States flag in the proper way. So thank you very much for all of your interest and your comments. Now, another piece of news that you may find interesting is over at Bastrop, Texas, where we have the SpaceX Starlink facility, we have the Boring Company main facility, and the Hyperloop area. We also know that they have started building a structure for the company X. And as you can also tell by this announcement, the company X is incorporating and moving its headquarters officially to this site here in Bastrop. So the entire area within about 15 miles of Giga-Texas includes not only headquarters of Tesla, the headquarters for X, also the Starlink facility for SpaceX, and the Boring Company main facility here. Also, about halfway in between is the Neuralink campus. And that is pretty neat to just see how much of the Elon Musk economy is coming here to this part of Texas. Now, a few things to look at in the video that I'd like to highlight. Over on the southeast side by the cooling plant, just to the north of that plant, we see a large clearing being graded out. I don't know if this is going to be for another structure or maybe parking or maybe some other purpose. It is something that I will monitor, and it is a big change. On the south end of the extension, the 3 tunnels that are used for emergency evacuation of employees are really taking shape. The terraced grading is well underway, and they are preparing what looks like possibly a road surface on the top of the tunnels closest to the building on the highest level of the terrace. Now, this may be to allow for emergency and fire vehicles to transit this part of the site, or it could be for just regular traffic. On the middle terrace, it looks like there's eventually going to be a walkway, and that'll allow the employees exiting the tunnels to be able to exit to the east or the west along this area. And on the lowest level, that's closest to the cyber pond, and that's most likely to help with the drainage and possibly overflow of the cyber pond during heavy rains. So pretty neat to see all that work on the south and southeast side of the extension. The last area that I just want to highlight is up at the electrical switchyard. Crews continue with the excavation for that slab and catch basin for the 3rd large transformer, and that of course is going to look very similar to what we already have on place, and they are adding concrete and more rebar onto that structure today. Now, I mentioned that I have an interview in town. That's why I'm flying a little later than normal. I'm going to be talking to the CEO of Aalo Atomic. That is a new company that is getting ready for its grand opening on Monday. Their product is to bring miniaturization to the nuclear power plants and be able to have them as portable, mobile, about 10 megawatts for electricity per each one of them, or there could be about 100 megawatts of thermal energy, or a combination of both. And they have a lot of plans for that, and I will be doing that interview, and there'll be a lot more to see in the video coming up for that. As always, thank you very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and I hope you have a great weekend. Take care.
If you would like to support my efforts, please consider using these links, which will be in the video description. If you are interested in Tesla products, you can help yourself and support me by using my referral code. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe buttons on my YouTube video, as this helps as well. Thank you. My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. Well, good morning from the south side of Giga-Texas, looking to the north at the factory in the west outbound lot on the left. And I'm pulling away to show you the south part of the horizontal drilling for the natural gas pipeline. This goes under the Colorado River and along the road on the left-hand side of the screen, and under the road over to this field that you see across this road next to the Sand Hill Energy Plant. And this is a good close look at how this appears today. The horizontal drilling is mostly completed to this side. They've already been installing some of the pipe. You can see a section on the ground here, and then where it is terminating over where that equipment is parked on the ground. We can also see a pipe in the trench. And again, this is part of what's called the lateral extension of the Sand Hill Energy Plant, and it is to provide more natural gas to this plant. Now let's go ahead and continue to fly kind of along the Colorado River, looking to the north at the Giga-Texas. You can tell the flags flying high over the factory roof on the upper left. The parking garage, the intersection coming up of where Robotic Avenue and River Road will have that intersection soon, and then River Road will continue through the tree belt on the right-hand side of the screen, and then all the way around the Colorado River up to the cathode plant, which you can see in the upper left-hand side, upper right-hand side of the screen, excuse me. And also, while we are here, this is a kind of an uncommon view of just what this part of the site looks like. Much of the tree belt remains from what it was like before the construction began. And of course, on the far east side is where many of the workshops, materials, and trailers, all their equipment is stored. The center of the screen is one of the workshops that's been responsible for making many of the pipes that are being used in the south extension as part of the cooling system for that data center. In fact, you can see a few pipes being worked on that large tent. The bottom middle of the screen is the recycle yard, and we will see where some of this equipment and recycling materials are coming from a little later in the video. And this is interesting, 3 Cybertrucks in the bottom of the screen over by the tree belt, not sure exactly why. And of course, this triangular material staging yard that has more of the pipes for the cooling system, also the steel corrugated pipes for the underground water system, and that temporary parking lot with all of the Cybertrucks. The east side ground level of the parking garage continues to have that privacy fence. The bottom right of the screen, we can tell that there is some earthwork on the ground in that median next to those power lines. and the towers that support them. And it also a good view of the east side of the body in white south end and the stamping machine area of the factory on the right-hand side of the screen. As we approach in towards the cooling plant and the extension, there's this large clearing. It continues to grow and have the grade work to prepare it for possibly concrete to match what we're seeing around the base of the cooling plant and also on the right-hand side of the screen. But we'll have to continue to monitor this to see if it's just going to be a concrete apron or if maybe something else will be constructed. While I continue the zoom in, this is a view on that south side of or the east side of the cooling plant, all of the equipment, some of the scaffolding, the pipes that are being installed, and other equipment that is in the process of being assembled to make that cooling plant operational. Also, it looks like more of the crews are working on glass trim on the left-hand side of the screen of this part of the factory's extension. Now, as I bring the drone in a little closer to the cooling plant, I'll look down and show you the 6 fans, the enclosures, and what these look like right now. They have been testing these fans periodically as part of getting the cooling plant ready for commissioning. But they are not moving today. Now on the ground, more of the concrete has been poured, kind of like walkways all the way around the northeast and south sides of the cooling plant. And with this clearing, we may just see that concrete going throughout this entire section. I'm going to bring the drone down a little lower, show you what is going on here on the west side ground level of the cooling plant. More of those vertical riser pipes being reinstalled again with 2 more remaining to be installed. They have been kind of moving these on and taking them off possibly for testing. Across the road, there are electrical crews working on those lower level poles with power lines. Maybe those will finally be removed. On the right-hand side of the screen, more of the trim work on the glass. And then as we round the southeast corner, taking a look at the south tunnels, few of the things that are noticeable, not only are the tunnels getting the dirt on top of that membrane that they added, they have this dirt in the middle on top of geotextile membranes, and looks like there is different material being put around this area, possibly to make this roads for either traffic or maybe for emergency vehicles. The second level of the tier is most likely going to be walkways for employees, and then the bottom of the tier, closest to the silt fence by the cyber pond, is most likely for control of possible flooding. As I zoom in, this is a view of one of the tunnels with the doors and the entryway, also some of the pipes that are needed for the roof drainage system. And it looks like there's a concrete vault, kind of a manhole cover being installed near that tunnel as well. As we work our way around the southwest corner of the factory, because it's later in the day, we have a lot different lighting than I normally am able to show you. And because of that, I won't look into the factory exposed section here on the west side. Instead, let's take a look at the ground, this yellow fence, and the work that is being done in this entry section where they have the asphalt and some of the vehicles could go through. It looks like crews are potentially working on some of the mounts along this kind of mezzanine level for glass. So we may start seeing glass installed on this section and tying into the existing glass line along this side of the factory. Now, we did see a Cybertruck coming out of the factory. Even though it is a Friday, it's just kind of, I think, wrapping up some of the work they've done during the week. Now, this is the recycling material that I had mentioned earlier, where eventually it'll go over to that recycle yard. And over the last couple of weeks, we've seen a lot of this equipment arriving, being moved inside, unpacked, and then shipped off for recycling. So a lot of changes going on. Now, we do see some Cybertrucks parked here next to the main entrance, and this is also a good look at the flags, the main entrance, that section where the flagpoles are on the ground in that landscaped area. We can also tell that they've added some black, possibly asphalt on either side, and that gray area in the middle. and that kind of continues the look that goes into the main entrance as well. So let's go ahead and cross over, or at least look over the highway towards the west outbound lot. We see many Cybertrucks on the north end and a mix of Cybertrucks and Model Ys in the main outbound lot. That clearing section on the right that is still waiting for final work to be done, and then it will be paved. The boring tunnel operation and the horizontal drilling operation that is going on just south of the tunnel, and that goes all the way down here under River Road and under the river itself to where we started the video at. Now I'm going to give you a view along the Colorado River today, something I don't normally show you. We'll be at a lower altitude. And this is a part of what was the ecological uplift project by Tesla to restore much of the greenbelt that you see here, some of the river as well. And this is a part of, eventually will be a kind of a ecological resurgence of some of the original look of this area before the sand and gravel mine, and of course before the construction of Giga-Texas. This is also an opportunity to look across River Road to that area where the contractors are parking, the clearing that is continuing to have that dirt removed for the south end, and also removing some of the hills and valleys maybe for some future construction. This section with all of the steel on the left, more of the materials on the right, and in the middle are those kind of special type of transformers that are usually used for either battery storage or solar panels. It's possible they may be related to a covered parking with solar panels somewhere in this area. Again, that'll be something that I'll have to monitor to see if that comes to fruition. In the middle bottom of the screen is those 82 transformers that are of a different kind that we just talked about. And I'm still waiting to find out exactly where those are going to be installed and how that will be most likely supporting the supercomputer cluster. As I mentioned, the outbound lot has a lot of vehicles, both Model Ys and Cybertrucks. This is a close-in view of what that looks like here on this Friday, kind of around 11 o'clock in the morning. And so much of these are being prepared for shipping, which will happen over the weekend. Also, since we're getting close to the end of the quarter, this is going to be a big push to get these vehicles out and to their new owners. And as I reposition the drone, a look at this north part with all of the Cybertrucks stored and waiting for their turn to be processed through the end-of-line facility. And the test track is very busy with Cybertrucks today on the west side of the facility. More Cybertrucks lining up for processing. And as we fly back to the south, this is a look at not only the test track and some of the vehicles on the right, some more of the Cybertrucks being sequestered in the right-hand side of the screen in that lot where we've seen them going into covered trailers, and the south part here with the superchargers and a much closer view of this dirt section that I had mentioned we're waiting to see the work completed and then paving. Now at the Boring Company tunnel site, not a lot of changes since my previous video. The horizontal drilling pit on the left with that orange fence, the risers for the conduit, some of the equipment for the Boring Company here, and of course the horizontal drilling items and equipment that are just coming into view. And that is so that they can install that green pipe on the right-hand side of the screen. And the horizontal drill is active today. That's that red and white item kind of on a ramp. So I'm going to fly up here towards the north part of the site, and we'll take a look at some of the activity with more of that natural gas pipe installation. This is where the crews are busy with the trenching and installing that pipe for the natural gas system all along this area. Much of the pipe has already been laid down in this area where we see that the trenches have been filled back in. And that continues up to the Tesla Road and underneath. While we were here, I wanted to take a look at the Evapco fan units, base units, some of the ventilation ducting on the right-hand side of the screen, and much of the related equipment being stored here, including a lot of pipes that we have seen workers picking up and using for the south end. More of this steel continues to be stored here, and we have seen trucks arriving with even more in the last several days. And as we continue to fly over a Tesla Road, this is this clearing where the pipe will come underneath the road through that trenched section. And then this is going to be like a large terminal for the natural gas pipe. Now, on the ground, there's many of the mounts that have been being added to the graded area, particularly next to those trailers. And this is a good view of what that looks like. Also with the lighting, a great view across the highway to the Megapack site and, of course, the main factory as well. I would also say that the lighting, the clouds, the blue skies is just very beautiful today and is a great backdrop for the Giga-Texas factory with the center highway very busy today. As we cross over the Megapack and the power lines, there is some activity that I would like to show you at the electrical switchyard, particularly with that catch basin that is under construction for the third transformer. And this is a look back towards the main factory for context of where exactly we are at this moment. Now here we see the crews working on more of the rebar cages. This will form part of the basin around the perimeter of the excavation. We did see in my previous video some of that concrete being poured. And once this is completed, it will look very much like the other catch basin that the current transformer is sitting on. And I expect to see a transformer very similar to that one added to this catch basin once it is completed. And as I have mentioned on a few occasions, this transformer and likely on the right-hand side of the screen, another white control room will be part of the system that will help provide electricity to the Cortex data center on the south part of the factory. So I'm going to turn back towards the main factory itself, fly along the east side and the parking lot, and we'll resume over closer to the main factory. On the right-hand side of the screen, a lot of changes next to the casting machine structure, particularly with the concrete apron and the baghouse plant. We'll come back for closer views momentarily as we go over the cyber circle and take a look at this temporary lot. This gives you a current look at the number of Cybertrucks that are temporarily being stored here until they are ready for further processing. In addition to that, more of that clearing on the ground. We briefly mentioned that in the beginning of the video, but this is a closer in view. And more of the castings all along this entire side, including next to that secondary main entrance. As we get closer to this new concrete apron section with the new receiving doors, this is a closer in look down from a bird's eye perspective of the concrete, the work that still remains next to the receiving doors themselves and that north kind of retaining wall that they are working on. As we continue to fly to the north around the power tower, I wanted to show you the work that's going on with the baghouse filtration plant. Much of the assembly on the south side appears to be completed, although in the middle sections and north section, they're continuing installing more of the pipes and some of the segments you see on the ground. And today we also get a chance to watch a crane in motion. It is picking up a large item that was just delivered on this red truck. This is a look down at that item and the crane getting ready to pick it up. The trailer of the truck appears to show that this is very heavy, at least with some of the equipment that is sitting on top of it. With this view, you can tell where the new concrete has been poured and saw cut and where the rebar is in place for the next large section of that concrete. I wanted to get a little closer to the baghouse plant, also that large delivery, so we can get a little better idea of what that is. And now that I think about it, it looks like it's something that's going to go inside the factory and not necessarily mounted on the baghouse plant. But the next time I come, I'll take a look at that and we will see. As I pull away, this is a better view of that formed and rebar section waiting for concrete. Also the rails for the bridge cranes on the right, the kind of pads for the dies, and that steel structure along the wall. As I point back down on the ground, I did notice that there is this trenching and what appears to be an excavation for another concrete vault. This is associated with more of electrical conduit that runs through this part of the factory. Speaking of which, we see that open, those two open vaults with more of the cables sticking out from the conduit. And it's all in preparation for making the final connections. As we fly along towards the north end of the building and over some of the rack mounts for castings, this is also a good look at the 3 new receiving doors underneath that canopy on the left-hand side of the screen. And it looks like they use some trays possibly for some recycling that may be going on as well, coming out of the casting section. As we fly over towards the 4680, looks like there's bins full of a bunch of items. Also, that wooden crate that was delivered on my previous video is still waiting for it to be unpacked. And more castings along this side of the factory is something that we've been seeing over the last few weeks. As we wrap around this corner of the structure, I wanted to give you a quick view of the work on this area where we see the cutouts for the bollards, the yellow moisture barrier, the rebar, and the formwork. This is all waiting for the concrete poured, most likely early next week. While we are here, I will also bring the drone up onto the roof section, take a look at these ductwork and the ducted fans that have been recently installed, and additional work being prepared on the center of the screen. As you can tell, there are more of those mounts for additional of the ductwork as well. But this is all part of extending the production capability of 4680s in this part of the factory. As I bring the drone up and pull away, this is a nice look across the highway to many of the sections that we visited earlier in the video, and also the main factory itself. As the sun is at a much higher angle, I'm able to point the drone back towards the east, look across the east parking lot, which is not all that full, and not surprisingly because of the shift change, which is basically Monday through Friday for production. Doesn't mean that the entire factory is empty. A bunch of sections, say, like for example, casting, continues operations during the weekend, but production is not happening today, and that has been going on for a couple of months now. As we get closer to the east side and looking at the die shop on the left, the cathode plant, and the crash test facility, I wanted to draw your attention to the center of the screen where the work is continuing with preparations for extending Tesla Road through this section. Most of the underground pipe work for the water management system have been installed. In addition to that, here's a lot of equipment that is looks like being prepared for some sort of installation. Some of them almost look like either ducts or some sort of a vat type system for combining equipment, and those are those kind of teal colors. So I'll take a look at that in my next video. Here is where they continue to prepare this section after installing all of the electrical conduit through this area. Looks like they're reshaping the berm. Also the conduit going into that temporary kitchen on the left, and the 2 vaults where all the workers are currently. As we get closer to the east side of the cathode plant, and of course the crash test facility on the bottom of the screen, I wanted to give you this view from the top down and take a look at the new fence all around the perimeter. It's much higher than the original temporary fence, and it's kind of encapsulating the entire section all the way up with a gate to the driveway to the wade pit. So perhaps that's all being incorporated into kind of a testing part of this site for future vehicles, and maybe even some more of the Cybertrucks to see how they may float at some point. But we'll have to see if that happens. The cell test lab on the bottom left and the trailers around continues to be reasonably busy even on this Friday. And of course, the materials and excess old concrete waiting for recycling up in this part of the site. As we wrap around the north end of the battery cathode building, I wanted to show you this kind of a semicircular dirt or gravel area around the lift station, and you can see how that appears today. And in addition to that, as I bring the drone down lower next to the tree on the left, I did notice that we are getting lunch delivered here, so this continues the trend of using the mobile lunch trailers that we see around the factory, now over here at the die shop. As we get closer to the chiller plant and also the die shop on the right, I wanted to pan the drone over to give you a view of what is going on in here on the north side. In addition to the furnace, more equipment and items that are being used inside. And they continue to build out more of the function in the die shop. The chiller plant does not look like it is operational today, despite the fans spinning, but we do see some workers, and perhaps they are doing some additional test or maintenance while the production is at a lower state here on this Friday. As we fly through the alleyway, it's kind of a great view with the lighting of all of the tanks and vaporizers that are there. And that will bring us to the end of the video. As always, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate the support, and I hope you have a great weekend.